What's Grounded fam? It's your boy Johnny Gio. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Grounded Phoenix podcast. As always, the purpose of this channel is to express vulnerability and expand awareness to addiction, trauma, and mental health. I have Ivan on the mic with me right now. What's Grounded, bro?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, bro. I'm doing good. Thank you for rolling up, man. I really appreciate your time.
Of course, man. Anytime.
So, I got to know you on Instagram, dude. Thankfully, you know Nick, and we all chop it up together. I saw your Instagram story. I noticed you were playing Chalino Sanchez, dude, and I was just remembering like all those times that I would bump narco corridos and I would fucking just rack up my lines of cocaine and shit. So it took me back. It took me back for sure. So I was like, I gotta mention it to this fool. But I want to say congratulations, dude, on almost 3 years sober now. Mm-hmm. 3 years, bro. That's a huge amount. February 14th, yeah. Mm-hmm. Pretty much almost like in a month. Mm-hmm. Congratulations on that. I do want to talk about the recovery aspect and like all the things you overcame. But before that, can you just please give us the opportunity to get to know you and, like when it comes to your drug of choice and all the things that you did have to overcome prior to, your 3 years sober almost.
All right. Yeah. So, I'm the third child of six, and I believe like that's where it pretty much started. Is after my last sister was born, was the whole trying to find attention from my parents. They were always so busy with trying to keep the oldest one doing good and making sure the babies are fine, and then me, I felt like I was stuck without any attention. Mm-hmm. So as I was going to school, I would realize that my older brother would get into a lot of trouble, and my dad was always on his ass, and I just wanted attention, and I started doing that. Mm-hmm. And I started being a bad kid, and then I started talking shit, and then I started fighting, and it was getting the attention, but not the attention that I needed. Mm-hmm. And eventually it got to the point where they were too busy. My little sister was like so young. My two older brothers were like always running amok too, and we were poor, so my dad was always stressed out. My mom was always trying to make sure we all eat. It started there. I remember when I started to realize the way my dad would get my attention is with school. So when I got in a fight once, when I went home and I got suspended, my dad pulled me to the side. He's like, when you go back to school, like, because I lost and I got bullied, and I told him, and he didn't like that. Mm-hmm. Like, he always wanted us to be able to protect ourselves in case something happened to my mom, to him, like, we'll be able to protect my mom. And when he found out that I lost, he told me, like, I'm gonna need you to go back to school. When you go back to school, like, you're gonna have to fuck him up.
Oh shit.
And if you don't, like, I'm gonna fuck you up. I was like,
damn.
Fuck. Okay, so my suspension was 3 days. So after my third day, I went back to school, and without even thinking about it, I just grabbed him and I started attacking him and I started punching him, and I got suspended again. But I fucked him up this time. Yeah. So we're in the car, and then my dad looked at me and he smiled, and he's all like, but now I have to fuck you up because of your mom. And I started realizing that's the way to get my dad's attention. Like, my dad's always too busy with work, or he was drunk, and he wasn't like just sitting with any of us without like my mom telling him like, oh, Ivan did this today. Oh, Miguel did this today. Oh, Christian did this today. Mm-hmm. Oh, go take care of the girls. Like, I'm cooking dinner. So like, unless my mom pushed him towards us, like, that's the only way he was giving us attention.
Right. Fuck, dude, that sounds intense.
Yeah. So that was going on to like probably like third grade, and then I started getting bullied more. Like, we moved from East LA, we moved to Watts. Mm-hmm. So now like I'm in this different environment, and there's so many kids that like weren't like us. We're Mexican, they were just all blacks. Mm-hmm. And it started with us going to school, and then them throwing shit at us during lunch and recess. And then it got worse, and then next thing you know, like, there's three of them chasing us, and we're trying to run home. We're like 5 blocks away from school. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to run home, and next thing you know, they're surrounding us, and there's 12 of them, and they're fucking all of us up.
Damn, bro.
So it went like that for a whole year, and like the only reason we were there is because, like, again, we were poor, so we couldn't really move anywhere unless my dad had the money, which he never really did. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so ever since then I started getting resentment towards my dad. Like, my dad fucking moved us over here. Like, what the fuck? Like, I wanted to be happy. I was happy where I was at. So like I started to get resentment towards my dad, and now the attention seeking from him wasn't for his intention. It was to tell him that he was an asshole, that I hated him, and it got worse. So my dad realized that, and he tried to do his best. So he moved us back out, and by this time, I was 9. So we moved to Boyle Heights, and my dad has this thing where like he wants to help everybody out, like regardless if you're a gang member or anything that considered bad. My dad like always sees the good in people. So we're Salvadorians, and we moved into a hood where they beefed it with the Salvadorian gang. And like my dad's a proud Salvadorian. Like his car had the Salvadorian flag. He always had the Salvadorian shirts. So after a while of living there, like my dad used to help this guy out that used to protect us, because like we will have people try to like start shit with my dad because he was Salvadorian.
Damn.
And
that's in Boyle Heights?
Mm-hmm.
No shit.
Yeah, so and then one day this fool got locked up, so there was no one to protect my dad.
Damn.
And I remember that day that he passed away. Like he was fucking drunk. He always starts drinking till like after 6, and like this day he was drinking like at 1 already. He was already fucking drunk, and it was like 8 o'clock at night, and my dad pulled me aside and he's all like, "Hey, like I'm gonna need you to go sleep over at your friend's house, like go have fun, take care of your mom, like be a good kid." And I was like looking, like he never let us sleep over anywhere, and like I'm looking at him and I'm like, "You're fucking drunk, dude. Like, are you sure?" And he's all like, "Yeah, go to your friend's house." He lived like 2 houses away, and so I did, and I couldn't sleep. Like my stomach was all fucked up. Like I was all stressed out for some reason. I was fucking 9, so I didn't really have nothing to be stressed out of.
Yeah.
And it's 12 o'clock, and I'm just like going back and forth in my friend's room, and like this was telling me like, "Come on, just go to sleep, play some video games," and I'm like, I can't. And I look out the window, and then I see 2 fools running down the hill, and then like one of them has a gun behind his back.
What?
And I didn't think nothing of it, because like we saw that like on a regular basis, like just people running around with guns and shit. And my dad always helping this guy he always had guns on him, and our neighbors behind us, like they always had guns on them. So like I didn't think it was towards my dad. So like I see that and I'm just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go to sleep.
Damn.
And I'm laying in there, my stomach's like all fucked up, and the next thing you know, like my homie's mom runs out, and like there's fucking sirens all over the house. And then she's all like, "Oh, go back home. And she's fucking crying like, "Mijo, be careful, go home." And I was like tripping out. I was like, what the fuck's wrong with her? So I go home, and the ambulance and the cops are surrounding my house, and I didn't think nothing of it. And I'm walking, and then the cops grab me. They're like, "What the fuck are you doing outside? Like, where do you live?" And I'm like, "I live right here." And they're like, "Oh, what are you doing outside? Where'd you come from?" And then my grandma comes out running, like, "No, he's with us. Like, that's my grandson. Like, leave him alone."
Right.
And as soon as like I had a feeling something happened, like as I'm going in, the ambulance have someone on the bed, and they're putting them inside, and then they just completely covered the person, and I didn't know who it was. And then you could just see him leave. And like all that shit was so slow. And like I'm sitting there, and my grandma's like, "Oh, your dad's sick right now. Like something happened to him, but he's gonna be okay." And like she's crying, my mom's gone, like no one's awake. It was just me. And then I looked at my grandma, and I'm like, why do I have a feeling he's dead?
Fuck.
And she fucking slapped me. She's like, "Don't fucking say that. That's your fucking dad," and this and that. And I'm just like tripping out, like what the fuck. So this was like around 2 a.m, and I couldn't sleep, so I stood up, and it's 6 a.m, and then everybody starts waking up. My brothers and my sisters, and my brother's like, "Where's my dad at?" Because my brother's junior, so he's always behind my dad.
Right.
And he looked at me, and then he looked at my grandma, and he's like, "Well, where's my dad at?" And I was like, "I don't know, he's in the hospital." And he starts freaking out, and then my other brother starts freaking out, and then my grandma starts freaking out, and then she gets a phone call, and then she's fucking starts breaking down. She got on her knees, and she's fucking crying, and she's grabbing my other brothers, and she's grabbing my little sisters, and like I was aside. I wasn't there in the circle, and like that's where I felt disconnected with my family, and that's where I felt different, and that's where I just didn't want to be part of that family no more, because like it always happened like that. When something big happened, like I was always the one like have to throw myself in there, like, hey, what's up, guys? And I believe like that's where my addiction really started. Like,
That's where it stemmed from, you think?
yeah, my mentality of like, fuck this shit, like I don't want to feel this shit no more. And then my dad dying, like it just triggered it. And we got the news as soon as my mom got home, and we all started crying. And my mom's like hugging my grandma and my brothers, and like I'm right there with my little sisters. And then I started getting this resentment. Like now that I understand it, like it was resentment, because all I wanted was just attention.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's all I wanted, and it was selfish. But I was 9 at the time, so like it's understandable.
You were a child, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from there we moved to Monterey Park, and that's where like it got worse. So my first language was Spanish, so my English as a kid was not as well.
I know what that's like.
Yeah, so I go to a school and it's full of nothing but Chinese people and white boys, and their English is the first language, and it's well spoken for their age. And I'm in class and I'm trying to talk, and then you hear it on the sides, like people talking shit. And I didn't want to be there. And that went on for a while, and all they did was just make fun of me, call me a beaner, call me a wetback. I didn't really know what it was, so I didn't really care.
Damn, Monterey Park is brutal, bro.
Kids are brutal.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's because I say that because I have my kids right now in the Rosemead district, and like it's like Monterey Park / Rosemead, and I know how you feel because I drop off my boys at school, and it's, you know, it's mostly Asians. But damn, maybe times have changed, I hope, because I didn't know it was like that, dude.
Yeah. Well, we didn't know neither. My mom thought it was a good place for us.
Yeah, because it's relatively quiet for the most part.
Yeah, so after that, like, it was just my whole 4th grade there, like, it was just, I felt like I wasn't wanted anywhere. And, like, kids making fun of me. And I tried to kick it with the Mexicans, and it was like there was a little of them, but they were already, like, connected with the Asians or the whites, and it was like, I didn't feel welcome. Like, I'm from East LA. And, like, I was born over there, so Spanish was what we talked most of the time. And got to the point where, like, in 5th grade, I met this kid. He was, like, a year older than me. And that's where it all started. Like, with fighting. Because I remember this fool was making fun of me, and he's, like, sitting next to me. He's all like, fool, fuck him up. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, nah, like, I don't want to get in trouble. He's all like, dude, just fuck his ass up. Like, fuck it. And I'm like, okay. So he says something else, and I grabbed my textbook and I threw that shit at him. And then the teacher, like, he grabbed me and he put me outside, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Well, he didn't cuss at me. He's like, what are you doing, Ivan? Like, you're a good kid. Like, what's wrong with you? And I told him, and he's like, no, he didn't say that, because he didn't hear it. So he sends me to the principal's office, and they call the cops. And then the cop's sitting there, and he's talking to me, and he's all like, you know, you could go to jail for this.
To jail?
And I was like, for protecting myself? Like, he's making fun of me. And they're like, yeah, but no one else heard that. Like, now it looks like you're the one doing it. Like, you're the bad kid. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? And this cop told me, he's all like, give him 3 chances. Warn him once, warn him twice, and at the 3rd one, you could strike. So I took advantage of that. And I remember one day, it was Father's Day, and
you started using that tactic. You're like, hey, just stop.
Yeah.
You would probably do that all quick. Just stop. All right, that's it.
Pretty much. I'll make it seem like I said it 3 times, but it was just once. But most of the time, like, I'll say just stop, and I'll just take flight on the kid. Like, this one time in Father's Day, like, I was doing something for my father, and, like, I hear these kids talking shit, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, I hope you're not making fun of me. And they're like, well, how's it feel not to have a dad? And I was like, what? They're like, how's it feel not to have a dad? And I jumped over the table, and I just started fucking this fool up. And I'm crying, because, like, I miss my dad. And I'm fucking crying, and I'm fucking this fool up. And then the teacher grabs me, and they send me to the office. And then the cops are called again. And then my brother's mad, because we're all going to the same school. So what my brother does, he goes and he fucks up his older brother. And then my other brother goes and like they try to fuck with my other brother. So it was like pretty much there was like a big family that was going there, and I got in a fight with their cousin. And my brother wouldn't get in a fight with their cousins. So like we were all fucking each other up throughout the whole school year. And the cops come and then I explained it to the cops, and I'm like, look, he's making fun of my dad. I don't have a dad. My dad passed away. Like I don't want to be here. Like I just want to die. And then the cops saw that, like they knew I was being serious. Like I'm not doing anything, and the teachers knew. Like I was a quiet kid. I didn't want to do none of that.
Right.
And it just got worse. I started smoking weed at 12.
Sounds about right.
I started drinking at 12. And when I started drinking, I remember the day I became an alcoholic. Like I remember I got drunk once and I pissed on myself. And I was blacked out. I got home and like half my body's inside the door and the other half's outside the door.
Oh snap!
So my grandma woke up and she dragged me inside, and I was fucking drunk. And then I woke up, took a shower, felt like shit. I went to go hit up the guy that bought me beer, and he's all like, "Fuck it, let's drink again." And I'm like, "All right, cool." So we were drinking King Cobras. I drank 2 of those. Got so drunk I fucking shit myself.
Damn. It wasn't even just a fucking piss.
No.
Okay.
And I got home and my mom smiled at me and she's like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I think I shit myself." And she's like, "What the fuck were you doing?" I was like, "I don't know. I don't remember."
Snap.
And she's fucking me up.
And you hungover at this point? Or?
Yeah.
Right.
She's fucking me up. She's throwing me in the shower.
Did she get the chancla out too?
Yeah, chancla and belt.
Chancla and cinto?
And cold water.
Oh,
and
shit.
She's like fucking me up and showering me, and I'm just fucking drunk and I'm hungover. Well, I felt like both, and I took off. I didn't want to be home. So I took a shower, I changed, and I left again. And I bumped into the same guy at the park, and he's all like, "Oh, you're back for more?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, "What's up? What do you got for me?" And he's all like, "Dude, like I shouldn't be drinking with you. Like I'm 18 and you're 12. I'm gonna get in trouble." And I'm like, "Well, then just give me the beer and just leave." And he's all like, "All right, cool." So he gave me a King Cobra 40 again.
He gave it to you?
Yeah, he just gave it to me. And
Damn.
I opened it, and I remember that as soon as I started drinking that, I took a pause, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm a fucking alcoholic." And I fucking blacked out from there. And I don't remember what happened. And I just remember I'm like this in front of my house. My mom's talking to the cops, and I'm just like, fuck. And my mom's looking at me. She's like, "What the fuck's your problem? You're drinking? Like that's how your dad died. He kept drinking and he got himself into trouble." And I was just like, I don't even want to hear it.
Yeah.
And then the cops like, like I should take you to jail, but I'm not. Your mom seems like a nice person and shouldn't be doing this shit. Like no one cares about you out there. So
You're 12 at this point.
Yeah, I'm 12 at this point. So I didn't give a fuck. My brother was already fucking up. He was already tagging. So at 13, I joined my brother and I started tagging. And the only thing, the difference was that he was faster than me. So I got caught. And then that's how I started getting into the system. And instead of like, we lived by this code in the street, like don't talk shit to the cops. So like instead of them like, "Hey, we're not looking for you, we're looking for this guy." And they're showing my brother's tags and they're like, "You're riding with him and we know who he is, we just don't have proof. If you don't wanna go to jail, you should just tell us who it is." I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah, that guy's me." So I was pointing at my taggings and they're like, "All right." So that's how I started going to jail. I went to court and the judge saw that I wasn't going to school, I wasn't doing good. So they locked me up for 3 months.
At 13?
So I went to juvenile hall.
Oh, okay.
So I went to juvenile hall and right there, I've never been to jail and I was fucking scared. And I got in 2 fights because I didn't want to make myself look like a bitch. And the judge saw that, so they kept me 2 more months. And after that, I just got used to it.
So it was 5 months total?
So after that, I got used to it. And my mom couldn't control me. So I got caught again as soon as I got out. And I was drinking, I had weed, I had spray cans. So they took me back to court and they asked my mom, like, "What do you want to do with him?" She's like, "I don't know what to do with him. Like, do what you guys have to do." And the judges are like, "Oh, we'll take him to placement." And I went to placement in Baldwin Park, and I was there with older kids, and those kids were already smoking meth, and I remember them talking about like how numb they used to feel and like how reckless they became and how mean they were and how fucking crazy I made them feel. And in my head, I'm like, that's what I fucking need.
Oh, shit. So it worked the opposite.
Yeah, I was like, that's what I need. Like, I don't want to feel shit. Like,
man.
I want people to stay away from me. Like, I hate being in like center of attention because I'm being made fun of.
Right.
So like as soon as I got out, like I met this guy that lived down the street from me, and we're smoking weed, and I'm drinking with them, and I was still in placement. This was like my last month in there, and I was so fucked up, like I just remember like waking up and smoke coming out of my mouth, and I took a hit, and like this was telling me like don't smoke this shit, and like I'm sorry that I gave it to you, like but I didn't know what else to do, and I'm just like what the fuck did you give me? He's like, it doesn't matter. And I'm like, dude, like, what the fuck did you give me? I'm fucking full of energy. And I'm just like smoking cigarette back to back to back to back. And he's like, don't worry about it. And like, we're going back home. And he's like, dude, I smoked it out with meth. And I was like, oh, so that's what it is. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, I heard about this shit where I was at.
Yeah.
He's like, where are you at? And I'm like, I'm in placement. He's like, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you fucking serious? I'm like, yeah. Like, thank you.
Fuck, dog. Well, I mean, at the time you needed that shit, but
yeah,
that's crazy how the fucking universe just works, huh?
Yeah, and that shit, like I feel like I was meant for that life, you know, like, and then I started getting into like these satanic bands and death metal and like gore and like I just went left completely, and my life went downhill super fast. Like I took off from home when I was 16. My baby mama got pregnant when I was 17.
Damn, 17.
Yeah, and we had the kid. No, 18. Yeah, I was 18 when she got pregnant, and my life was shit. My mom didn't like. Well, I knew my mom loved me. She couldn't stand the way I was.
Right.
And I couldn't stand my brothers. Like we were always fighting. Like there was never peace in the house. It was nothing but chaos. My little brother emancipated us when he was 12 because of the chaos. My sisters grew up traumatized because she saw all three of us fucking each other up.
Right.
And my baby mama didn't want to be there. She was pregnant and she ran away from her pad. So like when my baby mama got pregnant, we stopped smoking meth. But I kept drinking like crazy. And my alcoholism got worse. And then we're smoking weed and like we both wanted to get high, and like I was trying to make her breastfeed and I couldn't really try because like I was like, fuck, I wish your fucking breast milk would just dry out so we could get high. Because that was the only thing stopping us was my son.
Fuck, dude, that's crazy how this fucking disease of addiction, like how it gets a hold of you like that.
Yeah, and then before that, like I forgot to say this, but my brother, he used to be in placements a lot, and he'll do placements for like a year. So he was pretty much out for like about 8 months throughout his high school year. So he's locked up most of the time. And this is something that I've struggled with the most is my brother's death. Because like I think he was 16. Like he came from Utah. He was in a placement in Utah because he kept running away from the placements in here. So they took him to Utah, and he came down one day, and then I was already smoking dope. I was already on a sick one. I was already staying up for like 6 days. And like, I lost 50 pounds already. So like, I was doing all bad. Hardly going home, and I heard my brother was coming, so I went to go visit him, and he was there for like a whole week. And then the second day, I went back down here, and I'm starting to get high, and these was are like, fuck, we got no more money, got no more dope. And I start coming down. I start feeling like shit.
Right. Yep.
And I start hating the world. And I'm starting to think like, well, what can I do to get money? And I'm talking to my brother, and my brothers are like, fuck, I want to get high, but I can't because they drug test me as soon as I get there. And he's like, I got a gang of money, like I got like $500, like I don't know what to do with it. And out of nowhere, I got this idea, like, you want to get high, but you're scared to get like come out dirty in your drug test? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, I know what you could do, and it'll come out of your system in 3 days. And he's like, what? And I was like, you ever heard of meth? And he's like, nah. And I'm like, dude, this shit's fucking badass. And he's like, he's my brother, so he always took my word. He's like, well, fuck it. How much you need? And I'm like, give me $200. I got you. So he gave me $200, and I ran down here, and I'm like, look, I got $200, but I didn't smoke my brother out. Like, just give me a 20, and I'll tell him like, this is all we got. So, give me the $200. We want to go buy dope. I come back and I smoke my brother out with a 20.
And you kept the fucking 180?
Yeah, and I kept all his money. And I told him to stay away from me.
The tranzas.
Yeah.
Sick tranzas, bro.
And my brother's on a sick one and he's fucking drawing the whole time he was there. Then he goes back to Utah and it was cool. He didn't come out dirty or anything. But as soon as he got released, he was 18 and that didn't leave him. He wanted to smoke that shit again. And he did. Then I started getting him high again. I'm like, fuck it. He came back with some money. He was already 18. He's his own adult. Like, whatever he does on his own. Like, ain't no me pointing a gun on him. So we start getting high. And I see this fool, like, he's losing it faster than I was. And he's, like, going downhill. And he's, like, fighting everybody and anybody. And he was a pretty big guy. So, like, every time we were together, like, we're fucking creating chaos. And it got to the point where, like, my baby mama already had the kid. And he was, like, a couple months old. And my brother's fucking destroying the house because he's on a sick one, drunk as fuck. And we kick him out. And he starts doing shit in the streets. And he starts slanging. And he starts kicking with the wrong people. And then he gets killed. And that shit fucked me up the most. You know, we grew up with this guy. And that guy we grew up with is the same guy that took him in the wrong steps and got him killed. And that's something I live with every day. Like, to this day, like, I can't get rid of it. Like, I have this guilt because that day he passed away, I remember he came to where I was staying at and he was like, hey, like, knocking on the door, and I was calmed down and, like, I just wanted to sleep. Baby mama wanted to sleep. The baby was asleep. I'm just like, fuck, and he's knocking on the door like, hey, Ivy, let me in. Like, I just want to go to sleep. He just kept knocking. He's like, hey, I brought you guys some shit. I brought you guys some food. Like, I brought Elijah some toys. And, like, I didn't answer it. And he's all like, yeah, I'm going to write you a note, man. Just read it when you wake up. And I was like, all right, cool. So I didn't say shit and he left. I grabbed the note. And he's all like, hey, dude, I want to change. I don't want to do this shit no more. Like, I love your son and I want to change for him. And I was like, damn, this was fucking smoked up. Because in my head, like, we told each other, like, I'm never gonna stop doing this shit. Like, this is for life. Like, my last breath is gonna be because of meth. And he passed away that day.
Fuck, bro. Damn, that's a tough pill to swallow, knowing that, you know, you feel like, I guess, some sort of guilt for that. Damn, bro, that's intense, dude. That's intense.
And when he passed away, his homie came to pick me up, and he's all like, hey, your brother's fucking, there's something wrong with your brother. And I was like, what? And he's calling me, he's all like, yeah, there's something wrong with your brother. Like, there's a crime scene over here. Like, I need you to come. Like, they ain't letting us, they ain't letting nobody find out, go to him. Like, we need to identify him. Like, we're sure that's your brother. And I was like, well, what the fuck? Like, what's wrong with him? He can't talk for himself. He's like, I don't know. And I'm like, fuck, all right, pick me up. So he picked me up and we go. And then the cops are like, they're talking to me and they're like, oh, well, who's your brother? And I'm like, his name's Miguel. Like, he looks like this, he looks like that. He's bald. He had this on and he was carrying this backpack. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's him. And I was like, well, can I see him? They're like, no. He's going to the hospital, though. And I was like, well, which one? They're like, the general hospital. I'm like, all right. So we go. I didn't go. I was like, my brother's been jumped, he's been beat up, and he wakes up the next day and just shakes it off. So in my head, I was like, it's probably the same thing. He probably got drunk and started talking shit, and someone didn't like it, and they fucked him up. So what we come to find out is, like, it wasn't that. They called my other brother, and they're like, your brother's dead. They're taking him to this hospital.
Fuck, dude.
And my mom calls me, and she's fucking talking shit, because she knew I was the first one there. She's like, why the fuck didn't you call us? And I was like, I was just come down. I was fucked up. And I was like, I don't know. It's Miguel. Like, he gets beat up and he shakes it off. And she's all like, no, what the fuck? He's fucking hurt. He's injuredly hurt. He's on life support. And I was like, what the fuck? And I got choked up and I didn't know what to do. So my mom's there for like 2 days, and I couldn't stop. I couldn't go. I was so scared to find out what's wrong with him. So I got so drunk, and that was the only way I was able to go in. I was fucking wasted, and I go in, and you see him with all the tubes and shit, and they hit him in the head with a sledgehammer.
Fuck.
So he was brain dead. So there was no way to save him, and yeah. So so I'm drunk as fuck, and I'm crying, and my mom's like, why would anyone do this to me? Or to my son? And why me? Like, I'm just trying to take care of all you guys. Like, why don't you guys just fucking listen? And I was just stuck. I was like, I don't know. And then next you know, the doctor comes and he talks to me and my mom. And they're like, well, there's nothing we could do about it. Like, the more you keep him alive, the more his body's going to decay. And the more nastier it's going to look when you guys have a funeral for him. So they made us decide whether to try to keep him
Or pull the plug.
So no one wants to be a vegetable. So I convinced my mom to pull the plug. And I told her to donate the organs. And he did save 4 people's lives.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and my mom got to meet 2 of those people.
Okay.
But it was fucking hard, to pull that plug. So we had to ask the doctor to do it. And it was fucking hard. And my life just went like, it was already going like this. And when my brother passed away, it just fucking went straight down. And me and my baby mama broke up at the time, right after my brother's death. I was so stuck and lost. Like, I didn't pay attention to my son. I didn't pay attention to her. Like, I wasn't eating. I wasn't doing shit. And she ended up finding someone else. And she moved on to someone that was paying attention to her. And we broke up. And I told her she could stay where she's at. And I'm going to hit the streets. And I moved to Monte. And after that, that's where I started committing crimes, hanging around with the wrong people. And I couldn't stop smoking. I couldn't stop drinking. And it started off with me trying to buy dope from people that I've never met in my life. So I got done dirty. I was robbed a couple times. I was in the wrong neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know who the fuck anybody was at. Or anybody. I didn't know who anybody was.
Right.
So trying to pick up dope from shady people already was a shady situation.
Yeah, that shit don't mix.
Yeah. So, and that's what pushed me into like, in the ending of my addiction, I was this fucking asshole. Like, everybody hated me in my family. Like, nobody wanted to be around me. Everybody just didn't want to hear what I was doing. And so one day, my mom was staying at this trailer, and it was Christmas time, and she kicked me out. I used to get in a fight with my oldest brother, and they were brutal. Like, we're fucking throwing shit at each other. Like, it got to the point where, like, he didn't want to leave the house, and the only way to get his attention is to get his dog. So I grabbed his dog, and I started beating the shit out of his dog, and I'm like, get the fuck out of the house. Like, come on, fucker, like, get the fuck out of the house. And I'm fucking hurting this dog, and my sisters are crying, and my mom's crying, like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like, the dog has nothing to do with it. And I'm like, it's his dog. Like, you guys get the fuck out of here. Like, and it's my mom's house.
That's crazy, bro.
So, yeah. And she kicks me out. She's like, don't come here no more. Stay the fuck away from us. So it's Christmas week, and I'm in the streets. My brother's birthday's in Christmas. So, like, I'm fucking going through it. This is the first year, on his birthday, and he's not around. And I'm fucking going through it, and I'm in the streets, and I'm smoking dope. And, like, I bumped into this guy, and he was well known in the hood. And he sees me, and he's like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, nothing. He's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, just leave me the fuck alone. He's like, are you trying to get high? And I'm like, yeah. And what you got? And I was like, I got like $40. He's like, I got you. Follow me. And then he takes me we go to his room, and he serves me, he gives me an 8-ball. He's like, I'll hook you up for Christmas. And I fucking start crying. He's like, look at me like, if you're gonna cry, get the fuck out of here. And I'm just like, hold on, like, let me get myself together. And he's all like, what the fuck's wrong with you? And I told him. So I break it down to him, and I tell him, like, hey, this is what happened. Like, my brother's birthday is this week. Like, my brother died. Like, I don't know what to do. My family kicked me out. And he's all like, I'll take you under my wing. but you gotta do what I tell you. I was like, all right, fuck it. And then,
Just like that. Fucking,
just like that.
a fucking mentor?
Yeah.
Fucking came up on a drug slanging mentor.
Yeah, and he took me under his wing.
In El Monte?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, shit.
And the irony in it is, like, my dad's name's Miguel. My brother's name's Miguel. And his name was Miguel.
No way, bro. No way.
So when I saw that, I was like, is this a sign from God?
It's crazy, dog. That's
and
the way that shit works.
Yeah, and he didn't guide me in the wrong direction at all. But he introduced me to the people that he shouldn't have. Those guys are the ones that guided me to the wrong direction. And he was just he was like, do what you got to do to get your money, but don't stay stuck here. He was like 56.
I guess he was trying to help you the only way he could.
Yeah.
You know? But, I mean, at the same time, like, that wasn't probably the best advice.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he did what he could at the time. And in a sense, it was either that or you just fucking keep getting done dirty by fucking shady people.
Yeah. Or I snap and I hurt the wrong person and then boom, it's my ass. And then my mom has 2 dead kids. And so, yeah, so he took me under the wing and he would always tell me, like, hey, bro, like, go get your life together. Like, I'm 56. Like, I'm in the game. Like, you're not part of it. Like, you're not a gang member. You have long hair. Like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I don't know. I'm fucking lost. And this quote that he told me, like, it got stuck in my head. One day, like, I was just going through it and he's all like, dude, you are where you are because you choose to be there.
Shit. Fucking words of wisdom from
right?
the vato. Like, hell.
Yeah, he's all like, you're complaining that you want to, like, that you're getting high, you got no life. Go do something about it. Get in a fucking program.
What was your mentality like before he told you that? Because I had the same victimized mindset until I heard similar things. That's when you realize, oh shit, like it is up to me. So what was your mentality like?
Everybody's fault but mine. Mm-hmm. I had nothing to do with it. It was God's fault for putting me in here.
So you blamed God too, huh?
Like, I didn't ask to be brought to this world. I didn't tell my mom to keep me. She could have aborted me. Like, that was my excuse for everything. When my mom would get mad, like, you brought me into this world. It's your fucking fault.
Oh.
And my mom's just like, I didn't want the bad life for you. And I'm like, well, too bad. It's your fucking fault.
So when he told you that, and you instantly probably felt like, oh shit.
I felt like a jackass. I was like, fuck, you're right.
What did you do after that?
I still kept getting high.
But
that thought never left my mind. Like, that was always in my head. And then I got busted, like, for a big case the first time. And, like, that was the only words I heard. It was like, I'm in the back of the cop car, and then they're telling me, like, you're facing 5 years. And I was like, for what? They're like, for what you did. And I'm trying to lie, and they're like, dude, we just want the guy that you were working with. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So that was the only words. I'm going in the cop car, and they throw me into the cell, and they're like, fuck, I'm here because I choose to be here. That's all I kept telling myself, like, fuck. Like, I'm here because I choose to be here. And then the detective pulls me aside, and he's all like, look, man, like, we don't want you. Like, we know there was another guy in here. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, all you got to do is just point out the picture. We'll show you some pictures. And I was like, all right, cool, I'll do that. So as soon as they put out some pictures, like, they show my crime partner. And they're like, is this the guy? And I was like, nah, I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, all right, buddy, you're going to jail for 5 years.
So they already knew, but they wanted you to, like...
I was like, for 5 years for this? This is my first charge. And they're like, you're adult now. They're like, this ain't no kid shit. And I was like, fuck. I was just like, fuck it. Then I got 5 years. Like, I've always looked up to, like, gang members and drug dealers as a little kid. Well, since my dad passed away, you know, like, I didn't have no father figures. So, like, the movies and shit like that, that was my father figure. Like, I wanted someone like that, like, a badass.
Right.
So, like, when I met my crime partner, that's what he was. He was a drug dealer, he's a criminal. So I looked up to him a lot. So I was like, I got the opportunity. Like, I've seen in movies, if you snitch, like, it's your ass. But if you keep your mouth shut, like, they bless you. And in my head, I'm like, well, I guess I got a lot of things coming.
You're like, these 5 years will pass by quick.
Yeah. So I go to court, and they didn't get much on me. I had some tools on me, so they couldn't really pin the whole case on me. So they hit me with 180 days.
Oh, shit.
And I was fucking happy. And as soon as I got out, I went to go look for my crime partner, and I'm like, what's up? I want to do this shit some more. And he's looking at me like, dude, like, you're not from the streets, man. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, go do something with your life. Not like I got no life. I can't find my son. My baby mama is hiding with my kid. Like, that's my life. My son's my life.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, all right, fuck it, let's go. So we started doing burglary, residential.
Mm-hmm.
And I started like getting this adrenaline, and next thing you know, like, I wasn't getting high before to go do this burglary. Like, I was waiting to go do this burglary so I could get high off it. Like, that feeling like, oh fuck, like, I'm gonna get caught. Or like, oh fuck, if we get away with this, like, this is a lot of fucking money.
So it was its own little drug.
Yeah, and then next thing you know, like, he was telling me like, you can only do these with me, cause like I know what I'm doing. And I was like, all right, cool. So next thing you know, like, I'm riding my bike and I see this building, and I'm like, I got this. Like, I'm gonna show this fool that I could do it by myself. And I break in, going through the roof, drill a hole, go in there, take whatever's valuable. The alarm doesn't go on. Go take everything off. Call him, come back, and we're pulling all the copper off the building.
Shit.
So we're like stripping out the whole thing, and it was just, when I couldn't get high off drugs or alcohol, that's what I'll go look for, was the burglary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that adrenaline of like, fuck, man, someone's gonna catch me, but fuck it.
Yep.
I didn't want to live. Like, I was suicidal to the point where like I didn't want to kill myself, but I was hoping to God someone killed me. Like, I couldn't stand it. Like, I brought my son into my life, and like I couldn't hold him. All I wanted was just to be a dad to my son, and my baby mama was hiding from me. So
When was the point that like you were able to somehow get to your son?
when I went through Impact,
How did that lead up to? Like, what was the last stages of your addiction?
my last stages were,
And like, I guess the whole crime scene.
so it was my last crime, and I got busted with my crime partner this time.
Oh, he got caught up too?
Yeah, so we both got caught up, and it was for commercial burglary. So we weren't facing that much time, but I violated, so they were trying to give me 16 with half.
Mm-hmm.
And when we both went separate to talk to the attorney, and the attorney told me, they're like, you can either get 16 with half, no tail, or go into a program. And I was like, programs for bitches, give me my 16 with half.
Shit. You're like, fuck that.
So he's
I want
looking
my
at-
street cred, homie.
Yeah, exactly. I was stuck on that, and he looked at me, and he's all like, you do 3 months and then you get
I've heard
out.
that before too, bro. I heard that before, but it's just that mentality that you get, huh?
Yeah, I didn't want to change my life.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have no reason for my life yet.
So what led you to go that route?
So he pushed that we got the program together, because we were a bundle deal, because we got caught at the same time. Like, we were together.
Right.
So he's all like, if I get the program, he should get the program. So he signed for the program, and then when the judge saw that, he's all like, you know what, I'm going to give you the program, but your 16 with F is on hold. If you fuck it off, like, you'll get that. And I'm like, all right, cool, whatever.
You're like, fuck it, I guess I'm just gonna fuck it up so I can just go fucking do my time.
Yeah. So I guess my baby mama started going through her own shit and her own struggles, and then her mom reached out to us.
Okay.
And then that's where like it all started connecting. Like, she had another kid with someone else, and so was 2 kids involved, and I was like, fuck it, you know, like, she didn't want to go to a program. So like I started talking to her, and I was already in Impact. I was on my 3rd month being out in Impact. And my fucked up thinking, I was like, well, fuck it, if I take off from here, we go somewhere where they can't catch us, I'll have my son and her kid with me, and we'll be okay. And I convinced her, and my homie was staying in Oklahoma, and he was telling me like, hey dude, it's cheap over here, like, they don't extradite you. And I was like, what? They're like, yeah, they don't extradite you here, like, but if you get caught for anything else, like, the crimes are like, they'll give you big time over here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, fuck it, I'm in the program, like, I'm gonna take this over there. And I went with my baby mom, I convinced her, and I'm like, let's go to Oklahoma, like, I'll take your other kid with me. Like, he's not my son, but it's not his fault for him to go through anything like this. Like, he needs a father in his life, so like, let's make sure we keep the kids together.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, fuck it, let's go. So we go, and she's trying to leave back already as soon as we get there.
Just trying to dip out.
Yeah, and that triggered me. I wasn't practicing my program, so like, I didn't know no grounding skills. Like, I didn't have no I left my sponsor, so like, I wasn't gonna call him. And I hear in the other room, and she's talking like, yeah, come pick me up, like, I'll give you some money, like, I'm in Oklahoma. And like, she has him on speaker, and he's all like, yeah, I'll be there, blah blah blah, like, we'll get the kids too. And I'm like, and I start fucking flipping out.
Like even your kid.
Yeah.
And you finally got a chance to see your kid, and you're trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, so like my homie's there, my homie and his son's there, and I break in the door, and I'm like, what the fuck you mean you're gonna leave with my kid? And I start flipping out, like, and I was like, I've never hit a woman in my life, but like it was getting to that point, and my homie grabbed me. And he's all like, dude, like, nah, come on. He's pulling me outside, and he's all like, don't fucking do that, dude. Your kids are right here. And like I start breaking down. I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to do fucking good. And he's all like, nah, don't worry about it. Like, we'll figure it out. Let this fucker come. And I'm like, all right, fuck it. And like, she's in the room and she doesn't let me in. Like, she locks the room with a chair, and I'm just like, and I start going crazy. And I go to the gas station, and I'm like, fuck it, man, I need a fucking drink. And I bought a beer, and the next thing you know, there's this lady in the gas station, and she's like struggling with her car. And I'm like, what's up? You need some help? She's like, yeah, I need some help. I need to get this on this, and I need to do this. And I'm like, fuck it. And I'm helping her out. And she's like, do you smoke? And I was like, smoke what? She's like, oh, I'm pretty sure you don't smoke weed if you're going to ask that question. I was like, yeah. Like, what you got? She's like, I got some dope. And I'm like, and my heart just like started racing, and I got this big smile on my face. I was already buzzed, and I relapsed.
Fuck.
And next thing you know, I didn't care. I was like, okay, take the kid. I was already high. And that guy didn't end up coming for her. Her mom did.
Oh, okay.
And they took the kids. And I was high, and I was running amok in Oklahoma. And right there too, like right away, it's like one day I'm just high and I had no money, and it's it's empty. Like, there's houses, but like there's no activity in the houses. So one day I'm just walking, and I'm observing this house, and it's all black, and like there's no lights on, and there's some badass fucking cars in the driveway. And I throw some rocks at the window, and like no one comes to the window. And I'm looking at my homie, and I'm like, through the front or through the back? He's like, I've never done this. And I'm like, let's go through the back. So we jump over the fence. There's no one there. I'm knocking at the windows. No one's answering. So I break in through the door. Fucking kicked that shit open and started doing it all over again.
No alarm or nothing?
No alarm, nothing. And that was my push in again. Like, I went to it again, and I broke into several houses while I was in Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, like, my sister, I love Ozzy Osbourne. Like, I'm into rock and roll. So she's all like, hey, I'm going to Ozfest, but I don't have no one to go with. Like, can you come down with me? And I was like, fuck it. Like, I could pay for the ticket to go over there, but I can't pay for the Ozfest. She's like, no, don't even trip. Like, I got an extra ticket.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the universe bringing me back to where I'm supposed to be. So I go back to Cali, and I go see Ozzy Osbourne. And I hit up my crime partner again. And I'm like, hey, fool, I'm doing bad. I'm fucking getting high already. He's fucking pissed. He's all like, fuck it, come over here. Like, I got a job for you. I'm like, all right, fuck it. So we go.
And he's doing the program?
Nah, he wasn't doing the program. But he wanted me to do the program. So that's the only reason why he took it. Because he would tell me when we were in jail, he's like, dude, you're going to do the program, but just don't follow my steps. If I leave, I leave. You have a kid, you could get. My kids are grown. I can get my last son back. Like, I'm a loss to that. Like, I'm in the game forever. And I'm like, all right, fuck it. So, like, when I relapsed, he was like, fuck, dude, like, really? Like, fuck it, come over here then. And we're doing this lick, and, like, we just finished coming up pretty big. And I got so happy. I'm like, fuck it, you know, like, it's time to celebrate. And he's all like, nah, dude, just relax. We'll wait till tomorrow. Like, go to sleep. Like, this shit was fucking heavy. Like, just cool. And I'm like, nah, like, I'm gonna go get a beer. Like, I'm fucking happy. Like, we pulled this shit off, man. He's all like, yeah, it's still though, like, relax, dude. It's fucking hot over here. And I'm like, nah, don't trip. I got long hair. They ain't gonna trip on me. So I hop on his bike and I take off to the store. And the universe bringing me back to the program. So I'm riding my bike, and then the back wheel just like gets stuck. The light turned off. The cop sees that, and she busts a bitch. And I'm just like, fuck. And I get off the bike, and I picked it up, and I start walking up the hill. And she's like, follow me. And she's like, where you going? I was like, I'm going to the store. She's like, this late? I was like, yeah, I'm pretty hungry. And she's like, you got any warrants? And I was like, no, I don't. And I took off from Impact the first time, so I had a no bail warrant.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, all right, can I search you? And I was like, I got some dope on me. She's like, how much? And I was like, I got like a dime. She's like, all all right, cool. Let me just search you. Let me run your name. If you got no warrants, I'll let you go. I'm like, all right, cool. So I give her my brother's name. She looks at my brother. She's like, oh, you got a little piece of shit warrant. Like, go get that fixed. And she's like, let me just search you. And I'm like, all right, fuck it. I forgot I brought my wallet with me. So she searches me. She gets my wallet. And she's all like, so who are you, Christian or Ivan? I'm just like, fuck.
Damn, dog.
I'm like, I'm Ivan. She's like, why are you lying to me? And I'm like, well, look me up. She looked me up. She's like, oh, you got no bail. You're going to jail. I'm like, fuck. So I end up back in Impact. Well, at first I ended up in court, and I didn't want the program. I wanted to do my time. So I told my judge, I'm like, let me think about it. And he's like, all right, we'll bring you back in 2 months. And I'm like, all right, fuck it. So throughout those 2 months, like, that's when my rock bottom came. Was when DCFS came to visit me, and the first thing they told me, they're like, if you don't get a program, you and your baby mom are going to lose custody to your son.
Oh, shit.
So, and that's where everything connected. That's where, like, my heart dropped, and I was like, what? Like, to the system? She's like, yep, to the system.
Because your baby mama's not doing good either.
Mm-hmm.
So it's either that or, like, someone has to step up.
Yeah, and nobody, my mom couldn't get him. Nobody in her side of the family wanted to get him. And so that was my chance. Like, that was my rock bottom. When the public defender from DCFS was like, if you don't get a program, like, we're going to take your son and we're going to give him to the system.
So you rolled up back to Impact.
Yeah.
And that's when you started noticing some change.
That's where, like, I went in there I wanted to change. Like, I was tired of it. Like, I was tired of being suicidal. I was tired of considering myself a piece of shit dad. I was tired of making my mom, like, have restless nights. Like, I was tired of my sisters, like, not wanting to talk about me because I was a piece of shit. I was a drug addict. I was just, my brother died. Like, and all that, like, was just coming. Like, his last wishes before he died, before, like, we even realized he was going to die, he would always tell me, like, hey, if anything happens to me, like, just take care of yourself. Like,
he also wrote you that letter, too, that he wanted to change.
The thing I thought he was just too
fucking high. Yeah, that's crazy, dude. And I want to talk about the early recovery aspect first before we get into the fact that you actually have custody of your son now and you're doing pretty good, because I think that's amazing. And I think that's something that can really help somebody out there in a sense too, where, like, men are stepping up now. It doesn't matter how far and how much damage you've done to, like, your family members or to anybody or even to yourself, so that's a positive message, a really big impactful message actually that I want to get to. But first I want to just talk about, like, the early recovery stage. Like, you had relapsed already. Talk about Impact a little bit and how you felt at that moment, like, during your first couple of, like, sober days.
They were horrible. Like, I was so used to not feeling anything. Mm-hmm. So, like, all these feelings coming back to me, like, my early recovery and Impact the second time around was like, if you feel some type of way, talk about it. And that stuck with me. And, like, I slept closest to the street. My room was closest to the street. And, like, in my mind, I was like, I could go just take the 260 to the 70, get high, or bring some dope in, get dropped off, and start selling it here.
You were just a businessman, huh?
Yeah, so I was just trying to make money. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I had this other conscience, like, just relax, get your son back. Like, it's enough. Like, I was going weeks with no sleep in the streets, and it's like, dude, rest, eat. And I started talking about it in groups, and I was like, I want to leave. Like, I don't want to be here. I want to get the fuck out of here. I want to go get high. And then the group facilitators were like, they would talk about it and they'll make me feel dumb. Like, why? Like, this is only this and this is going to happen. Aren't you trying to get your kid back? And I'm just like, oh, yeah. And 2 weeks straight just talking about it. Like, I want to get high. I don't want to be here.
Like, you needed that repetition back and forth. You needed to talk about it all the time. That's crazy. And it worked.
Yeah, it worked. After 2 weeks, I had no desire to use. It just went away. I didn't want to use no more. Like, every time I thought about it, like, I'll glorify it, but then I'll just get disgusted. Like, fuck. Like, I was doing that. Like, my pores were sweating out meth. Yeah. My hair was super oily because I wasn't showering.
Mm-hmm.
And it helped. Those 2 weeks of just talking about it. And next, like, I just flipped and I started talking about my feelings and how I felt. And my brother's death, and then the guilt that I have for it, and that I want to get high, but then I don't. But I want my son back, and like I don't know, like being so scared of not knowing how to take care of my son, and like that's what kept me there the most. Is like talking to people like, what happens if I lose him? And they will always tell me like, you're doing good. Why are you gonna lose him? I was like, I'm not used to like accomplishing good stuff. Like that's not in my nature.
It's hard as it is to just even accept or realize that you're gonna be a dad, you know, without no prior issues or addiction. So just to hear you say, "Fuck," like I need to fix my life to be a dad. Like that's a lot to take on, and I can understand why you would go through all of that, dude. And I know it's tough, dude. But I want to congratulate you right now because I think, as we're gonna talk earlier on, you're doing pretty good for yourself, bro.
Thank you. And it wasn't easy. Like to this day, I still struggle from it. And one thing that like was always like in my mind was when I was talking about like I'm doing this for my son. Like this caseworker, he pulled me aside and he's like, you need to stop doing this for your son. And I was like, what the fuck? Like that's my motivation.
Yeah, bro.
And he's all like, yeah. But what happens when your motivation becomes your resentment? And you start realizing, like, I did all this for my son, and you're not partying, and you're not doing what you were doing, and you're not having fun because you're limiting yourself for your son. I was like, oh, shit.
You could do it for both of you guys.
Yeah, so I changed my mentality. I'm like, I'm doing this for me so I could take care of my son.
That's dope, dude. That's badass. And who told you this?
Joey Zepeda.
Nice.
And that's what I do every time, like, I'm feeling down and I'm wondering why I'm doing this shit. I'm like, I'm doing this so I could take care of my son. And I think about my lifestyle and I'm like, I don't want my son to go through that. That's the same reason he's not named after me. It's because of that. Like, I've seen it, you know, like my brother tried to fit my dad's steps because he's junior and they both died. They both were killed. And like in the streets, you see it, you know, like some guy's gangbanging and his son's named Junior. Next thing you know, his son's gangbanging. Like, I didn't want that for my son. Like, I wanted him to have his own identity. And at the same time, I didn't want him to see what I've done. So when I got the opportunity to change, like, as hard as it was, like, I couldn't quit. Like, that's the only thing I didn't want to quit on was my son. Like, there was times where I'm trying to rip my fucking hair out. Like, I'm tired. I wanted to throw the flag and tell DCFS I'm good. That was my motivation to keep doing it every time I wanted to quit. And also the social workers will always tell me, like, hey, dude, like, not a lot of dads do this shit. Like, we're so proud of you. And, like, hearing those words out from strangers is like, fuck yeah. Where was this at when I needed it as a kid? But now I'm getting it, you know, trying to raise my kid. And it was, like, motivation. Like, everywhere I went and they heard that I was trying to get my son back, they're like, fuck, like, really? Like, fuck yeah. Like, there's not a lot of people that do that shit.
And there isn't. And there really isn't, dude. That's why I really want to congratulate you on that. I want to go ahead and ask you a question because you did talk about early on. You said, where was that early on as a kid? So, you know, you would seek attention from your parents because, you know, that's what you wanted. How is it like now that you're sober? Like, how do you want people to acknowledge you, or how do you get your attention? Because there's a transition there.
Yeah, so humor. I use a lot of humor. I'm always joking around. I'm always talking shit. Like, it's nothing like to hurt anyone, and it's just the way I am. It's humor, and I love to laugh, and I love to see other people laugh.
Okay.
And that's how I get other people's attention. That's my attention seeking now. It's like, even though I know I shouldn't be attention seeking, I'm not perfect, but humor. It's what I use.
No, and I think it's important to understand, you know, there's like acknowledgement and attention seeking. And sometimes, you know, like as humans, like it's just natural, you know, it comes natural. And that's a really healthy way to do that. And you actually had me busting up right here too. So I can definitely see that, bro. You also talked about like your environment growing up, like in the ghetto or in the hood. As a father now, you know, you do have to, you know, kind of worry about or just have attention like about bullying with your own kid. Like, how are the measures, like what measures are you going to be taking now that you have custody of your child, knowing what you went through and what is out there?
Well, I've caught my son like sometimes being a little a bully, but like he don't know he's doing it, and like I take that opportunity and I pull him aside, and I always tell him like, "Do you want me to do that to you?" And he'll be like, "No," and I'm like, "Then why are you doing it to someone else?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know. I was just doing it," and I'm like, "Well, you need to start thinking like you can't be doing that to other people because one day I'm not gonna be here. There's gonna be a bigger kid." And he's gonna do it to you, and you're not gonna like it.
And what do you remember what he said?
Yeah, he was like, but then I'll defend myself, and I'm like, well, dude, I did the same thing, and I ended up being a mean kid. And he's all like, no, you didn't. You're not mean. But he's never seen that side.
Yeah.
And I tried to tell him, like, I tell him little stories of how people used to bully me, and he's all like, kids are really like that, and I'm like, yeah. So you need to be careful with like who you hang out with, and what you do to others, because it comes back to you.
Bro, I like that.
And he's such a nice guy. Like I've caught him doing like shit like that, and like he automatically stopped, or like following other people's footsteps. And I always tell him, do you want to be remembered as that person, or do you want to remember as yourself? They're like, well, I want people to know me as me. And I'm like, well, then stop acting like him.
Yeah.
Just because he's yelling in class doesn't mean you need to be yelling in class.
Dude, you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job, dude. Honestly, like, you're breaking like traditional, or like you're breaking the sequence of like how your dad raised you, you know? So like you taking accountability and remembering how kind of you were raised and doing the opposite because you realized it kind of didn't work shows a lot of growth. It shows a lot of growth, dude, and I really admire that about you.
Thanks. Yeah, my dad beat the shit out of us. That's all he did. That's all they did to him. So he didn't know much.
He didn't.
Yeah, I don't want to do that to my son. Like, the way I grew up, it was fucked up. Like, it was cool for me at first, but it's like it got to the point where it's like I didn't want to live. I don't want my son to grow up like that. And I try to take advantage of any little situation like that, and I've been blessed because he catches it on. He's all like, oh yeah.
No, you're talking to me that he's a pretty smart kid.
Yeah.
As you know, I have like 2 kids of my own, so like having these conversations with another father that's been through, you know, a lot of turbulence in your life, it means a lot to me because I could take from you, you know, like I try to learn and be open-minded as possible because I admit, you know, I'm not perfect myself, you know, I'm really not. And I'm really open-minded to other ways or other tactics to how to be a better father. And I got to say that I really am taking a lot away from you right now. With that being said, I'm going to ask you one last question. But first, I just want to talk about, if you can, how it's like, you know, just being, you know, I guess a single father. And is there a message that you want to send out to anybody that is trying to get their kids back or have been through anything that you have been through? Because we know that it's very rare to see that nowadays.
It's hard to be a single father because your son, your daughter, like they need both parents in their life. And all I could do is just, the reason I'm doing what I'm doing, the way I'm doing it, is for my son. Like if he, so the situation with baby mama, like she's not around, and I'm telling her that she's sick, which she is, but he don't understand it. Like I'm trying to, as much as resentment that I have towards her, like I'm trying to keep that away from it because it's not right for me to decide what my son's gonna love or who he's gonna hate. Like that's all on him. And I'm trying to, I take suggestions from other people as well, other fathers. Like I don't act on my own because most of the time it's either resentment behind it or just pride and ego behind it. And it's worth it to get your kids back. Like there's nothing better than to know that your kid's acting the way he is towards people in a nice way because you helped them raise like that. And the motivation like that I get is from hearing it from other social workers. You know, my judge as well told me the same thing when I got full custody of my son. She was like, congratulations, like you're one of the few single fathers that did this. And just don't give up. Like fucking do it. It's worth it. It's hard, but nothing good it's easy. That's for sure.
I like the way you said that, man, because it's true. Nothing really worthwhile does come easy. Same with like your sobriety, you know, your children. It's all hard work, but in the long run, it certainly pays off. Thank you for sharing that, man. With that being said, like, I have one more question for you, and that is that there's 3 things in life that are guaranteed, and I think that they are actually marked on our gravestone. The first thing is our birthday. The second thing is the day we passed away. But there's something in there that we overlook, and that's that dash in the middle. And I think that's something important that we overlook. What is it that your life is going to represent? Because initially that's what it means, like the gap in between your birthday and the day you passed away. How do you want to be remembered by? What is that dash going to symbolize for you?
I would say finding humor in life and not giving up regardless of what I thought about myself. Because a lot of people didn't think that I was going to do this shit.
Dude, that really hit home to me. The reason why it hit home to me is because actually, a little bit on the contrary, to begin with, I had a lot of people that actually were rooting for me. They really were, but at the same time, finding a different behavior to how I was before, and like you said, you seek humor in life because, you know, let's face it, we can't take everything serious, man.
Yeah, no.
We have to enjoy the present moment, and laugh. And to see that you come from a place where like you wanted to end your life to now finding humor, it just shows how powerful we as humans can be. And I want to go even further, like what the universe has in store for us, dude. So like, thank you for sharing that, bro.
Of course.
So is there anything else you'd like to say?
Yeah. So there's this thing that I've been told many times that and if you're able to find a silver lining in a dark moment, that moment will become simpler. It will never be easy, but if you're able to find a silver lining in every dark moment you're gonna go through, because you do go through dark moments your whole life, like your life will get simpler and you will become stronger, and there will be more strategies for you to overcome those and teach others. And that's what I've been using a lot.
And you're right. You know, you're absolutely right, because just because you're sober or you feel better or you have your kid doesn't mean fucked up shit is not gonna happen. And to try to find that silver lining, like you said, that positive thing, because let's face it, there is at least one thing that's positive out of that bad that you can pull out. And it's all in being open-minded and having the strength to find that, because it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. So I think that's a powerful message to go above and beyond to what you said about your dash in the middle, bro. I really appreciate you for sharing that, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
For sure. Sick, bro.
I'll never be the same.